Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I know you have missed this while those of you that have been gone were gone. You've missed my introduction. You've missed viewing in person the videos. We're going to go over a couple things today because I saw a couple errors as we worked through this week. A couple errors that I want to correct so that you don't make those errors again. We're going to start with division with decimals using models. This is important because there were errors that I saw with people. Now, in this question, we need to write the equation. We are going to write the equation of what it's doing, of what this problem is exactly doing. Well, first of all, we know what is being divided, or that this is a division problem. So we're going to have something divided by something equals something. So that's a good start. That is a good start. We know something is going to be divided by something, and it's going to equal something. That you can't just turn that in as your answer. That won't work. We got to figure out what goes in those blocks, in the somethings. Now, if I look at this, because they ask us to do the equation, how many groups do I see here? Four. That tells me whatever this is going to be divided by 4. And what's the value of one group? 7.
8.
7 what?
10.
7/10 and 1/100. So that is the answer, the quotient. That's what is in each group. How do we figure out what is being divided? Logan?
You gotta times the answer by 4.
Good. We can multiply the answer by 4. We can count. And let's see, and we don't line up, for the love of Pete, I'm still seeing it, we don't line up decimal points when we're multiplying numbers with decimals. Please stop that, it makes your teacher insane. So 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 7 is 28. There are 2 numbers behind the decimal in the problem. That means there are 2 numbers behind the decimal in the answer. So this is what you're dividing. 2 84/100. What I saw on one of the assignments we did this week is people say, this is what's being divided. They would say 7/100 and 1/10 being divided by 4, but that's not what's broken apart. That's your answer to what is being divided. So that is one thing I wanted to point out. There's one other thing I needed to point out for people that didn't really watch the videos that I told you to watch before you divided by decimals, is if we have the problem 97 2/10 and we divide that by 8. 97 2/10 and we're dividing it by 8. The number one thing we do when doing division is we move our decimal point straight to the top. It goes straight up. Then I don't worry about it. Then I'm done with it. I don't have to look at the decimal point again. And of course, you'd either use your multiplication chart to write your multiples of 8, or you'd write all your multiples of 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, like we did with our 2-digit ones. 1-digit ones are easy because you have a multiplication chart. And then I ask myself, self, does 8 go into 9? And myself says, yes. That means I'm going to have a number above the 9, a number above the 7, and a number above the 2. A number above the 9, a number above the 7, and a number above the 2. Oftentimes, if you don't do this part, you're going to put the decimal point in the wrong place. It's going to be in the wrong place. Then I ask myself, self, how many times does 8 go into 9? Myself says, once. Because 1 times 8 is 8. We need to get as close to 9 as we can without going over. 1 times 8 is 8. Then I subtract and I get 1. I have to bring down my next number. That is why this next part of my quotient goes above the 7. And I have to ask myself, how many times does 8 go into 17? And myself says, 2. And 2 times 8 is 16. Then I subtract, I get 1, and I bring down 2. Now I ask myself, how many times does 8 go into 12? Myself says, once.
And then you add the 0.
And then that's 8. We subtract, 12 minus 8 is 4.
Then add the 0.
Now, what I saw on some answers that were emailed to me yesterday was 12 and 1/10, remainder 4. We do not have remainders when we're dividing with decimals. We do not. And the rock means do not. So, what is it we do, Elizabeth?
We add a 0 and then bring it down because the 0 doesn't change. It blends with all zeros.
Ah, you're awesome. Adding a 0 doesn't change the value. I have 97 and 2/10. Hey, give me 0 hundredths. If you gave me 0 hundredths, you're giving me nothing. So that doesn't change the value. So then I bring that down. And I ask myself, how many times does 8 go into 40? Myself says,
5.
so I should never see a remainder when we're dividing with decimals. Ethan.
What happens if you add a 0 and there's still a remainder?
You could add as many zeros as you want. There are some that are going to go on forever. But what we do with that is they'll tell you round to the nearest hundredth. Like, for example, if I take 3 into 1, I'm going to move my decimal point straight up. Does 3 go into 1? No. So I'm not going to have there. Bring down my next number. Does 3 go into 10?
Yeah.
How many times? 3. 3 times 3 is?
9.
Subtract, I get 1. Bring down the 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times. I get 9. I subtract, I get 1. And it will go on forever. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So what it would ask you to do is take this number and round to the nearest hundredth. So if we have this number, we round it to the nearest hundredth. So we have that number, we look at it, we look behind it. Do I add 1 to that 3 or leave it the same? Leave it the same. So this would be 0.33. And I don't think you have to know this, but one of the things they do, if something repeats over and over and over again, is they'll put a line above it, and that tells you that that just keeps going. Forever and ever. Amen. It does.
Going.
Keeps going.
Keeps on going.
So, shout out to Les Champions, to Mr. Orange Cassidy.